Hello everybody and welcome. I'm delighted that you've chosen to spend time with us this afternoon exploring how education and skills can support the green revolution, the transition to a fairer, greener, better world. Let me start by saying something very bold. Education is a superpower that we can all achieve, and we don't need to be bitten by a spider to get that superpower. Education delivers better quality of life, better health, more engagement in society, more democracy, understanding of politics, greater trust between peoples and communities. It liberates girls and women. And we know that spending on education works. For every additional year of learning, it creates an extra 8 to 10% in your wage packet. And if every adult on the planet completed secondary school, we could cut global poverty in half. Now that's something we all want to achieve. So we can see how fundamental education and skills is to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and a better, fairer world. We know that we live in a very unequal world, and education and skills is part of that, because education and skills is not equally accessed all around the world. And in an unequal world, COVID has tipped the scales even further. In the past year, over 90% of the world's student population, children and adults, were affected by closures of their educational establishments. This impact was particularly hard on girls and women, many of whom will never make it back into education. Their life chances forever harmed. They often had less access to technology, so when there was online learning that replaced in-person learning, they didn't get to participate. So, education and skills is going to be key to helping catch up and recapture some of that land. Education and skills can transform the lives of individuals, and if it transforms the lives of individuals, it has that impact on their families and on societies and on our economies. Education helps us understand the world we live in and how we interact with it. And we're living with three big transitions at the moment: demographics, digital, and the environment. Education and skills will help us navigate and survive and possibly thrive through these big transitions. COVID showed us what it's like to have to live in a world of constant change and how hard it was to need to always be updating and changing our process. But this is what we need to bring into our education and skills process and curricula. We need to have this level of speed of change. And as I said earlier, we can't afford to leave anyone behind. We need everyone's mind, everyone's creative capacity in these unpredictable and uncertain times. We need to invent these new ways of living, of producing, of consuming, of communicating, of engaging with us. And then we have to implement them, and we have to implement them quickly. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about how do we make that happen? How do we change curricula, particularly when the future is there's no direct line between what happened in the past and the curricula of the past. What teachers learnt themselves is not what they need to pass on. Instead, they need to instill the skills of adaptation, the skills to collaborate, the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary connection, the ability to analyze complexity and find solutions that work. We know that innovation happens at the intersection between different professional sectors. So the curriculum and education for the future needs to be open to collaboration. It needs to be not stuck in silos. So our training and education needs to give people the mindset they need, the growth mindset to adapt. We need critical thinking, problem solving, and data analysis. And for the young people today who are looking at a very different world of work, the skills they need will need to be updated and changed probably every 5 to 10 years. So not only do they need to know things now, but they need the skills to learn and constantly keep learning and adapting in that world. And if we can do that, if we can support workers, then we will have a world that will deliver what we need. And the stakes could not be higher. It's life on this planet. Now we've got political commitment. Lots of governments have made commitments to being climate neutral by 2050 or 2060. We've got the SDG goals of 2030, so the political commitment is there. The financing is starting to be released. We've got major new commitments for climate change being put on the table that countries can access, recovery funds, resilience funds, new special drawing rights. So, how do we transform this political commitment, the financing mechanisms through education and skills into the world we want it to be, the world that everyone deserves. Let me start now by handing over to our first activity of the day, which is a high-level panel, which is going to look at human capital and mobility at the service of the green economy. It's rethinking skills, employment, and human mobility. And I'm delighted now to hand over to our colleagues who are going to be giving you this debate. Let me hand over to Miriam Zubeida. I think you are our moderator for this session. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Tasmin. Can anyone hear me or see me?
We can hear you, yes, that's wonderful. We can't see you, but we can hear you. That's the most important, isn't it?
Okay, right. Well, thank you, Tasmin. Okay, I apologize to everyone. We are obviously, you know, everything is working virtually, so I apologize that you can't see me. It's not that I'm wearing a bag over my head. I just seem to have a slight problem with my camera. I will try to fix it, so I apologize to everyone who is joining online. Okay, well, let me kick things off without my face, but of course, thank you to Tasmin and to all of the team here. I want to welcome everyone to this EDD high-level panel on human capital and mobility at the service of the green economy, of course, organized by the International Center for Migration Policy Development, or the ICMPD. Thank you to everyone who is, of course, joining us online. We really appreciate you being with us. I'm Miriam Zaidi. You might not be able to see me, but hopefully you can hear me, and I am your host. Now, over the next hour, this panel will discuss the positive impact that migration could have on green economies. There's no sugarcoating it. Migration has been an extremely polarizing issue across Europe in recent years, but it has always played a vital role in economies all over the world. Now, just in this pandemic alone, I really want everyone to think about the country or the city that you're living in. Think now about the people working day and night in the hospitals, in doctors' surgeries, in care homes. Migrants have been at the heart of the fight back on the front line, keeping all of us safe from this really horrific virus. But of course, a big consequence of this global pandemic has been that migration and travel as a whole has virtually come to a standstill. It's affected each and every one of us. Now, how could this affect ambition to build back better and greener going forward? Now, before the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, it was estimated that 1 million jobs would be created by 2030, and that in 5 years, new technologies would create 60 million new jobs worldwide. So what then for migration? Well, many EU sectors have skill shortages, and those will be deepening as a result, of course, of this pandemic. But out of this global crisis, here's a perhaps positive question for all of you. We have a new wave of opportunities possibly on the horizon. You know, throughout this 1.5 years, we have all learned to work differently. Just look at what's happening now. I am interacting with a panel, but without a face. So it's quite different indeed. Now, none of us, of course, are in the same room. I really wish somebody was with me right now to help me with my camera. Throughout this pandemic, though, business models have been reinvented, supply chains have been restructured, and the most amazing part of all of this is that productivity has managed to thrive virtually. So perhaps is this a watershed moment? How do we capitalize on the new momentum and innovation? Well, joining all of us to discuss the green economy and the transformation of our economies, the way we work, the people who are part of it, Dr. Michael Spindellega, the Director General of the ICMPD, the International Center for Migration Policy Development. Good afternoon, Doctor. I hope you can hear me. He holds also the position of Vice Chancellor of Austria. Thanks, of course, for joining us. Now, the ICMPD is an international intergovernmental organization working on migration policies, research, dialogues, and capacity development. It also provides 18 member states with migration policy and has a UN observer status. Also with us today is... do we have him with us, the Mayor of Rabat in Morocco? Welcome, marhaba. Yes, he is there. Now, I will be joining you soon. I promise you will be able to see my face, hopefully, as well. Now, a key player in North Africa's move towards renewable energy. In 2017, Morocco committed to a national strategy for sustainable development, which will see it reverse its dependence on fossil fuels by 2030. Now, our third speaker is Frida Ntarangwi, founder and managing partner at City Circle, an organization that promotes inclusive and sustainable economic growth through productive employment and decent work for all diaspora entrepreneurs through capacity building and financing. She is based in the Netherlands. And let me say this to you, Goedenavond. I hope I got that right. And lastly, but not least, we do have Kishore Gopal Reddy. Namaste. He is one of your EDD youth leaders who works with rural communities in India. Welcome to you all. To everyone who is watching, hopefully, and joining us, I'd like to say we are in good company to talk all things migration and the impact it will have on the green economy. But before we do, of course, get to our jam-packed session, a few house rules. First of all, to all of our audience members who are, of course, joining us online, write your questions on the Slido channel. We will take them after each 20-minute segment. And for all of our panelists, I have one very simple request. Please do keep to the allotted times. If not, I'm going to have to cut you off. And if not, it's going to be Tasmin Rose, who, of course, you all met earlier. She'll cut us all off there, so you have been warned. Okay, well, let's get started. Now, I know, apologies again if you cannot see me still. I'm going to take a poll with our online audience, and then when we get to Dr. Spindellega, I will try to fix my camera and fix the technical issues I'm having at my end. Okay, well, let's get on with this quick poll. Guys joining us online, you do have 2 minutes to answer now the following question on Slido and to send us in your answers. You know, do join in, don't be shy. I'm sat here all by myself and currently in the absolute dark. So here's the question. Right, so I'm going to set my phone right now. A 2020 study entitled The Future of Nature and Businesses by the World Economic Forum found that nature-positive solutions can create ... jobs by 2030. So, guys watching and listening in online, what is the answer? Is it 50 million jobs? Is it 200 million jobs? Is it 395 million jobs? Or is it 500 million jobs? Right, so those are your answers. So those are the potential answers you have. 50 million, 200 million, 395 million, or 500 million jobs. Guys, you've got these 2 minutes. Please make it count. Think about your answers. Now, if you haven't, of course, put in your answer and are wondering what are nature-positive solutions, well, to quote the chief executive of Unilever, there will be no jobs or prosperity on a dead planet. So this is really all about going green and the impact of job creation. Now, let me fill in, of course, we've got 1.5 minutes left for this panel. I can see that the question is on the screen. Not me yet, guys, but I will be there soon. Now, the report says that if recovery efforts do not address the looming planetary crisis, a critical window of opportunity to avoid the worst impact will be lost. Decisions on how to deploy the post-COVID crisis stimulus package will likely shape societies and economies for decades. Now, the head of the WF's Nature Action Agenda said that nature can provide the jobs our economies need. There's nothing stopping businesses and governments from implementing these plans today at scale to re-employ millions. Guys, you've got 48 seconds. I hope you're thinking about your answers. You're thinking about how many jobs are going to be created. Now, the first element, they say, the WEF says, is to locate infrastructure to avoid or at least minimize the destruction of fragmentation of primary ecosystems and of habitats and endangered species. 27 seconds, guys. The second element of a nature-positive built environment is to design infrastructure systematically in a way that energy and which is resource efficient, maximize biodiversity and ecosystem services, and build resilience to climate change. For instance, deciding on components as seemingly simple as roof design. Well, that can all, as we know, increase energy production. Guys, there you go. The timer has gone. I can tell you that the answer is 395 million jobs. I hope everyone who has joined us on Slido, you got that answer right. If not, don't worry. You can always take part in our next poll. Right, well, moving along. I hope everyone is enjoying the pitfalls, but also the fun aspect of all of us being online. But moving on now, and time to bring in, of course, our patiently waiting panelists who are speaking to a void, but it is me, Mariam Zaidi. Now, there can't really be, of course, any discussion on ambitions for a green economy and the role people can play and where they can work without seeing it within the context, of course, of the COVID-19 pandemic. As countries look towards sustainable recovery, how has the pandemic impacted their green ambitions to build back better? What does our panel think? Well, let's start with asking them. Dr. Spindellega, let me come to you first. The question I have for you, and you have 5 minutes to answer this, is how has the pandemic changed migration and human mobility? And specifically, what role is there for migration and migrants in this recovery process? Why is the skills dimension important to build back better? Dr. Spindellega, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Just let me start by saying that we very much appreciate that you all are participating. I think this is a most interesting debate, and especially I would like to thank the panelists for their time and for their contribution. Answering your question, I think everybody knows that with pandemic situation during the last 2 years, everything changed. We had a decline nearly everywhere. Economy went down everywhere. We had more than 60% decline in tourism. We had a lot of border controls. We had lockdowns in so many countries. So, of course, it's very clear that also migration issues have been very much influenced by this development. So I think what we have as a conclusion is migration went down, but not everywhere. So what we could see in Europe was exception in the Western Balkan routes. We had also an increase last year. We had an increase, the strongest one, on the central Mediterranean route. And we had an increase on the Western Mediterranean route. Everybody knows about the arrivings in the Caribbean, in the Spain islands. And of course, I think this was one of the tremendous developments that we could see. Anyhow, what will come afterwards? I think we can see a very positive development all over Europe. So many restrictions are lifted or will be lifted during summertime. So our expectations are that, of course, also migration flows will start again. We can see the first signs in the Mediterranean Sea. We can see a lot of migrants arriving also in the eastern part along the Silk routes. So I think this is just a matter of some months or some weeks that we get back to the migration flows we have seen during the last years. What is the impact about the green revolution? And could this help European countries just to find the right people to work for this green revolution and to take part in these 395 million new jobs that could be created out of this green revolution? I think the main issue is skills. So you will not take part in any of these wonderful new jobs if you are not skilled to do the jobs. And so for that, of course, it's very clear that you have to start with skills programs first, because migration will not happen that people come from African countries or from the Silk Route countries to Europe and find a job immediately. No. They, I think, should be trained in the countries of origin, and then we should start programs how they could participate in these new jobs and how they could, of course, use their skills just to find the right place for them in future. And this is the real matter now for European Union to organize it. I think we have seen the first signs for that. There is a new pact for migration and asylum that is discussed at the moment. One of the elements is these talent partnerships. And this brings me to the main issue that is now ongoing. This is how to find migration partnership, a real partnership where you can be sure that the states negotiating it and the European Union are really discussing on the same level, giving opportunities not only to people, but also to the countries of origin. So this is the challenge, and how to create special programs that could be offered to the people in the countries of origin. How could we organize it in the right way? Because for me, it's very clear, if you're on the one hand asking for partnership just to have a fight against irregular migration, then you have to use on the other side the opportunities for legal pathways and for offering new and especially green jobs to people with the right skills just to take their chance in the European Union. So I think this is more or less what we have at the moment. And maybe later on I can tell you some practical examples, what we are doing as an organization, and how this could be brought together to find a benefit for everybody who is taking part in this cooperation. Thank you very much. But now we can't hear you, Mariam.
And hear me. Can you hear me? Yes. Brilliant. Okay. Well, technology works. To everyone, of course, to my panelists, first of all, thank you for your patience, and to all our online viewers. I hope you had a nice little laugh at technical problems. You know, this is really what happens, you know, when we are working virtually and working from our own homes. But thankfully, everything is working great now. So thank you to everyone, and especially the panel, for holding the fort. Now it's time for me to do my business. Now, just to pick up on what Dr. Spindellega said, I think perhaps, you know, what you really spoke about there was the kind of opportunity, the positivity that can really come out of this pandemic. And I don't know how perhaps the other panelists feel about this, but what I've really felt and I think learnt from this pandemic is that there's really been a sense of all of us, you know, being here together. For example, just now you were all here with me while I had to deal with my technical issues. And a quick reminder now, of course, let's bring in our virtual audience. Please keep submitting your questions on Slido. It's really important that we get your participation for this dialogue. Okay, but over to our next speaker, Mr. Mohamed Sadiki, the mayor of the city of Rabat in Morocco. My question to you, sir, is urbanization and migration, of course, go hand in hand. Now, globally, most international migrants live and work in cities. So too, refugees and, of course, asylum seekers. Now, the figures suggest that it's about 60% of refugees live in the city, 80% IDPs. Now, your city, Rabat, really does seem to be a place of destination, transit and origin for migrants. So how are you preparing to build back better after the COVID-19 pandemic? And can a green transition help capitalize on your migration reality? You have 5 minutes, sir. Please take the floor. Mr. Sadiki, can you hear us?
Entendez, Monsieur Sadiki?
Oui, je vous entends avec un peu de difficulté là. Bonjour tout le monde. Ravi d'être avec vous aujourd'hui pour ce thème très important, vu que effectivement suite à la pandémie que nous avons connue il y a déjà 1 année et demie, et nous avons réussi un peu le deal de la première partie de cette pandémie, qui n'a pas épargné un pays ou une zone ou une région. Donc, ça veut dire déjà dans votre question que le monde comme un petit village, donc il n'y a pas de limite. Et la réussite, c'est pour tout le monde. Le sauvetage, c'est pour tout le monde. Et le contraire aussi, il est valable, c'est pour tout le monde. C'est pour cela qu'il y a un point très important sur lequel on n'a pas donné beaucoup d'importance, c'est la solidarité. La solidarité. Déjà, pour sortir de cette pandémie, si on n'est pas solidaire, si le vaccin n'arrive pas à tout le monde, s'il n'arrive pas aux migrants qui sont partout dans nos villes, dans notre pays, dans nos régions, dans nos villes, je crois que la sortie sera difficile. Donc, déjà, commençons par la solidarité et par la suite, nous allons voir comment nous avons procédé pendant la pandémie avec nos migrants, c'est-à-dire la partie des migrants qui sont dans notre ville. Et bien sûr, c'est la même politique au niveau du pays qui est le Maroc. Vous l'avez dit dans votre question, nous étions un pays peut-être émetteur de migrants, puis un pays de transit. Et maintenant, nous sommes aussi un pays où résident les migrants, où une partie des migrants ont choisi de régulariser leur situation et de s'intégrer dans la mesure du possible dans le tissu économique de nos villes. Bien sûr, donc lorsqu'on parle de la mobilité, on parle de la mobilité à l'international et on parle des frontières entre parenthèses qui ne sont que, bien sûr, ils sont là, il y a des règlements, il y a des règles. Et nous avons, je sais que vous, nous tous, nous avons besoin d'une migration régulière parce qu'il y a un besoin pour notre économie, pour notre industrie. Bien sûr, lorsqu'on parle de l'économie, on parle de toute l'économie dans toutes ses dimensions, pas seulement de l'économie verte. Bien que Rabat, il a beaucoup fait dans les métiers de l'économie verte. Donc, on a commencé déjà par la modernisation de notre réseau de transport. Donc, on a passé du tram à des bus écologiques amis de l'environnement. Par la suite, on est en train de moderniser la gestion de notre décharge collective pour toute l'agglomération, pas seulement à Rabat, mais de plus de 15 collectivités ensemble. Et aussi Rabat, comme tous vous le savez, c'est une ville verte avec des défis. Nous sommes dans une zone semi-aride, mais quand même aussi, on a fait un effort au niveau de la réutilisation des eaux usées pour l'irrigation de nos espaces. Je m'arrête ici pour revenir sur les migrants. Nous avons travaillé la première partie, donc on les a, pour ceux qui sont en difficulté sociale, difficulté de logement, donc début de la pandémie, on les a logés dans des logements décents, dans des logements collectifs décents, qui leur permettent quand même à ce qu'ils soient épargnés leur vie pour cette pandémie, mais aussi d'épargner les autres villes qui ne soient pas des vecteurs de transmission de la pandémie. Par la suite, on a essayé, on les a traités comme les nationaux avec des aides sociales, puisqu'on est tous confinés, donc il n'y a pas de travail. Et surtout pour ceux qui n'ont pas de travail régulier, donc on les a traités comme tout le monde dans des trucs sociaux. Mais on est très fiers et très contents parce que juste lorsqu'on a commencé l'ouverture, c'est-à-dire le déconfinement, petit à petit, nous nous sommes retrouvés avec des migrants qui se sont parfaitement intégrés dans la société marocaine et exercent même des métiers, des petits métiers quand même, mais qui leur permettent de vivre, qui leur permettent de recevoir, c'est-à-dire quelques petits salaires qui leur permettent quand même de vivre. Maintenant, la suite, qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec tout ça? Comment on doit voir, c'est-à-dire la reprise après, c'est-à-dire ce Covid, mais bien sûr la reprise en trouvant des solutions pour nos migrants. Ceux qui ont choisi, c'est-à-dire de rester avec nous, ceux qui ont choisi de s'intégrer dans la société, ils commencent déjà à s'intégrer. Ils travaillent dans des chantiers de construction, ils travaillent même dans des métiers, des petits métiers libéraux, par exemple des cordonniers, des cuisiniers, c'est-à-dire des gardiens même dans des villas d'administration. Donc, ils exercent des métiers dont on a besoin chez nous. Mais il y a une grande partie quand même, malheureusement, c'est-à-dire qui veulent être considérés comme quoi c'est des migrants temporaires. Ils sont là, ils veulent profiter un peu de la situation sociale. C'est normal, on ne veut pas les laisser sans logement, on ne veut pas les laisser sans vivre. Donc, ils vivent, mais quand même, ils attendent malheureusement une occasion pour qu'ils traversent la Méditerranée. Là, c'est une réflexion que nous devrions mener ensemble. Les villes du Nord et les villes du Sud. Et je répète toujours un slogan que j'ai toujours répété à l'international. Il faut encourager l'investissement dans les villes, c'est-à-dire dans les villes et dans les pays émetteurs de ces migrants. Ils ne choisissent pas de migrer parce que c'est un confort, ils migrent parce qu'il y a des guerres, parce qu'il n'y a pas de travail, parce qu'on n'investit pas autant chez eux. Et donc, voilà, si on veut trouver une solution globale, une solution collective, une solution de win-win, gagnant-gagnant, nous devrions mettre la main dans la main, le Nord et le Sud, et venir investir dans les pays émetteurs de ces migrants. Merci pour votre attention.
Thank you so much to the Mayor Rabat, Mr. Sadiki there. It was great to hear everything that you talked about Rabat in terms of its integration and protecting especially temporary migrants. I really liked what you said about how this world is like a small village, and you know it really has felt like that in this pandemic. Okay, well, quick reminder, of course, to our online audience, keep sending us those questions in. We are, of course, going to take the temperature and see what all of you, the questions that you want to put to our panel as soon as our panel have spoken once. So don't forget to put in those questions. Okay, well, over to our third speaker, Frida Ntarangwi Kimthi, the managing partner at City Circle. I hope you got your name right. Now, first of all, thank you so much for being part of this panel and for also representing all the women out there. It's really a pleasure to have you with us. My opening question for you, and of course you have 5 minutes. Now, the EDD Forum is self-billed as the Davos of the development world, where we're all brought together to listen and to learn and to discuss all things development. Now, the World Bank, I'm going to start off with a slightly bad statistic. Now, the World Bank says an extra 150 million people could be pushed into extreme poverty by the end of this year, and that in sub-Saharan Africa, 42% of the population would be pushed into that extreme poverty. But pre-pandemic, of course, many, and I must stress this, many African economies were, of course, booming, something I'm sure you'll tell us all about. And the African private sector was investing heavily in both upskilling of its workforce. So can you give us an overview of just how this pandemic has sort of hit Africa in terms of jobs, in terms of unemployment, in terms of skills, and in terms of the green transformation? You have 5 minutes. Please take the floor. Okay. Well, unfortunately, it seems that Miss Ntarangwi's sound is also a bit of a problem. Perhaps
I was muted. Sorry.
You were muted. Okay. Well, listen, look, to everyone who's watching and listen, you can't have been worse than what I did. So one mute is fine. I hope none of the other panel decide to mute themselves as well. We have a lot to discuss. So please, Mr. Ntarangwi, take the floor. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariam. It's funny that every time, you know, webinars are happening, something that you don't know, so I apologize for that. So I would like to say thank you, and obviously, I mean, following what my predecessors have said, in Africa as well.
Okay, we do seem to be having a few technical issues. This is, of course, just like live TV. Okay, so we've lost Frida just for a little bit, but you know, it's okay. We still have many more great things to talk about. First of all, let me remind my online audience, keep submitting your questions. We have one more speaker to go. So whatever questions you might have, put it in. Don't be shy. You never know if you're going to have your question chosen. Okay, well, over to our last, but I'm presuming most energetic speaker. We have Kishore Gopal Reddy. Namaste. Now, my question to you, which you have 5 minutes to discuss, is that all of us, and you know what, I'm going to add myself in, especially after having these technical issues. So all of us oldies look at your generation and your social activism, and frankly, we are marveling at the positive change that you have brought our society. To get world leaders committing to environmental goals that possibly might not have been heard of or thought of before you guys really injected your pace and talent into the discussion. Now, I know that you personally are working very close with rural communities, specifically women and young people. So what does your generation think about the commitments that have been made to the transition to a green economy? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mariam. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Perfect. So my technical things are fine for now. So I think I would love to speak about relationships, you know, to answer your questions. Every one of us know about relations, and we have all been in some kind of relationship, maybe with your wife or with your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend, or even a friend or a mom or your dad. So every one of us have experienced relationships. And my next question would be, what is common among all kinds of relationships? And people would be shouting, saying, you know, love or care for the other person. But at the same time, I would love to point out that issues or fights are also common in almost all relationships. And I spoke about this right now because I think we also have a relationship with our mother nature, or the humanity and the society. You know, these are very personal and intimate relationships because, you know, we get all the natural resources like air, water, and various other things from our mother nature. And we get companionship and support from humankind, from other people. So we get a lot of things which are necessary for a life. And these are very important relationships. And the issues here are the global challenges we are facing, climate change or poverty or unemployment. So these are the big issues in this relationship. So the next question would be, what would we do in a relationship? Generally, if we have a fight, if we have an issue, we try to solve it. We try to make the relationship beautiful again. We don't want to lose the people who are close to us. And I think we should be doing the same here. We shouldn't lose this relationship. We should make it better again. And that's where solutions kick in. We need more action. And I know there are people who are already taking action, but we need to do more and we need to do better. And there are people who are ignoring this. People feel it's not, not my problem. But I think if you do that in a relationship, what happens is the other person will just, push you away or send you away. They don't want to be with you. And if the same thing happens here, like Mother Nature sending us out is literally kicking us out of the planet, which is death. And we don't want that. So we need more actions. And having this concept in mind of relationships, coming back to your question, I think young people now realize that we are not just the future, but we are also the present. We know that we have to take responsibilities, we have to take action. And at the same time, we know we are not the only ones who can create a change. We need to work with older generations. We need to work with all kinds of people because we need to use their experience. At the same time, we might come up with creative solutions or problem-solving skills which can be useful. So we need to work together and we need to create a change as one unit. You were speaking about, working as one unit or, working as humankind. We need to show the humanity and we need to work together to bring the change. And for this, I think the key would be to find the root problems, the root issues, and then trying to solve them. And for me, I believe skill development is one of those. I'm not saying skill development is the only solution, but it's definitely one of those solutions because it could solve issues such as unemployment, which could help in solving other issues such as poverty or people who are forced to migrate due to unemployment. So all of the issues are interlinked, and solutions like skill development can help us solve those. So my final message would be that people who are already taking action, please understand that we need to do more and we need to do better. And for people who are not doing anything, who are ignoring the current global situations we have, I think COVID highlighted the issues which we already have. For you people, we need to realize that this is also our planet and we need to take action together. So let's be the change, and I will leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Kishore. That's lovely to, lovely to hear everything you've had to say about unity and also working with older generations. I'm sure we'll really appreciate that too. Okay, well, listen, I think listen, before we're going to go to our friends on Slido. We do have a question. Dr. Spindellega, this one is for you. It says, my question is for Michael. I'm from Nigeria, which is the digital hub in West Africa. I want to know if his organization has any initiative for training young people in digital technology skills. Mrs. Spindellega, if you would, please.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. So what we have in mind is to bring people that are trained in Africa for a certain period to Europe, just to complete their skills working for European enterprises. So there is a pilot program that is called Move Green. So people from Morocco have the chance after a certain period of trainings in Morocco to come to Spain, to Andalusia, where they could finalize and complete their skills. And at the end, of course, being ready to work in new technologies. So this is a concrete initiative where we have a pilot project ongoing.
Okay, lovely. Well, I see that Miss Antarangwi is now back with us. Hello, can you hear us? Is everything cool? So I'm going to ask you a question now. Now, I know that you, of course, had a 5-minute speech that you wanted to talk to us all about, and perhaps you can add some of the thoughts that you had in here. As an entrepreneur, what do you want to see or to get from partnerships, especially with the EU, especially when you're thinking of the diaspora that you work with?
So thank you very much, Mariam. I'm actually surprised that my speech was not heard at all. I don't know if you can hear me now, but on and off, I'm finding myself muted, not muted, but getting lost. So what I would like to say, and I think the summary of my points that I was trying to make is that there's a lot of skills set needed in the African context. And I would like to say, like last 2 weeks ago, obviously, we did a matchmaking program between the green economy and the African diaspora entrepreneurs. And it was very clear the things that were missing, obviously. One of them, digitalization of these economy SMEs. And I would say digitalization because obviously, in terms of internet and technology, we are not at the same level in Africa as of course the West. So how do you make sure that these small scale enterprises who are in the green economy access technology, access digitalization, have access to innovation hubs that can help them build their products better. The other skills set that was missing, and what I've seen mostly is, developing sustainable business models. And this is definitely, really challenging for the green economy, not just for Africa, because how do you make these businesses profitable? And I was talking to a friend of mine who is working for UN, and I think they are doing a program or a project in Ghana. And one of the, it's in the mining sector, and one of the problems that they are having is even finding, organizing these small scale business people into making them investor ready, So how do you make them bankable? How do you do programs that help them, come out and, express their full potential. So in terms of partnership needs, especially with ZD we are running a lot of programs with the diaspora, obviously helping them and empowering them to do more projects with the countries of origin, especially also in the green economy. And one of the challenges is that, the diaspora are mostly ignored. And I think there's a quite a lukewarm approach, in terms of people thinking, or even policy makers thinking that when they go back to their countries of origin, they can't do much. But we think they are the driving force, and they are the people with all their skills to support the green economy revolution in Africa. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Ntarangi, for that. Well, listen, let's now, I think we can now move on to the next part of our panel discussion. Okay, so what we've done so far is that we've discussed the problems and the challenges facing different countries and different parts of the world. Challenges, of course, and I hate to keep referring to this, made worse because of the COVID pandemic. So what are the solutions on a local, regional and global level? And what key partnerships need to be made or strengthened? Now here we are all really going to deep dive into what the green economy needs in terms of skills, training, mobility, social inclusion, labour, education, policies, as well as public-private partnerships for skills development. What can be put in place? Okay, well, let's kick things off with Mrs. Sadiki, the Mayor of Rabat. You have 4 minutes to answer this question. Now, cities consume 78% of the world's primary energy and generate, of course, 60% of carbon emissions. It's not good for cities. So with more than half of the world's population living in cities, in urban areas, of course, will have to play a key role to this or in this green transition. So can you share with us a few initiatives that you've implemented in Rabat that look to, of course, reduce your city's carbon footprint? And how do these types of initiatives really benefit, you could say, from legal migration and skills partnerships with the EU and also intra-Africa? You have 4 minutes. Please, sir, take the floor.
Merci encore une fois pour cette question. Effectivement, nous avons des partenariats avec plusieurs villes à l'international et en l'occurrence des villes de l'Union européenne. Elles sont très nombreuses pour que je puisse les citer ici. C'est-à-dire, on commence par presque tous les pays de l'Europe de l'Ouest. Nous avons des relations de partenariat et sur des sujets bien définis, sur la mobilité urbaine, sur l'écologie, sur l'échange d'expériences au niveau c'est-à-dire de la gestion des espaces verts, sur comment entretenir notre patrimoine culturel et patrimoine urbanistique, etc., sans rester là. Mais sur c'est-à-dire un peu les efforts faits par la ville de Rabat en termes de développement durable et surtout écologique, je peux commencer à parler à partir de 2010. 2010 déjà, Rabat a été récompensé et organisé la journée internationale, soi-disant c'est-à-dire de l'écologie et donc aux efforts faits par la ville de Rabat. Mais en même temps, nous avons lancé notre tram, notre transport par tram au niveau de la ville de Rabat. Et donc, le transport par tram, c'est un transport électrique donc, qui est ami de l'environnement et donc il contribue à faire baisser un peu nos dégagements en termes de carbone. Aussi, c'est-à-dire 2 ans après, on a lancé un programme de rénovation, c'est-à-dire il y a une aide de l'État marocain, bien sûr à toutes les villes et aux taxistes pour qu'ils renouvellent leur parc de taxis, c'est-à-dire mettre en réforme les taxis qui dégagent plus c'est-à-dire de gaz à effet de serre et encourager les gens à utiliser des véhicules de dernière génération, amis de l'environnement. On n'est pas encore arrivé aux voitures électriques, mais quand même déjà changer le parc par des trucs modernes. La troisième action, c'est en 2018, nous avons rénové, c'est-à-dire notre parc de bus. nous avons conclu un contrat de gestion d'affermage aussi des transports par bus pour toute l'agglomération au Rabat. Il est le centre de cette agglomération. Donc, Rabat avec 1 million d'habitants, il y a 2 autres millions d'habitants qui sont servis par ces transports écologiques amis de l'environnement. La troisième action très importante, c'est la gestion, la gestion de notre décharge. Aussi, comme j'ai dit dans la première intervention, nous avons mis en commun une décharge collective pour plus de 15 collectivités, 15 municipalités, 15 villes. Bien sûr, pas des grandes villes. La grande ville ici, c'est Rabat. La deuxième ville, c'est Salé. La troisième, c'est Temara. Mais les autres villes, c'est des petites villes qui gravitent autour de la capitale. Donc, nous avons commencé à gérer d'une manière moderne cette décharge et nous sommes actuellement en jugement d'un appel d'offres international que nous avons lancé. Il y a des compagnies européennes actuellement qui sont en lice, c'est-à-dire dans le concours, pour qu'ils gagnent ce concours, mais sur lequel nous avons exigé à ce que le minimum, c'est-à-dire de recyclage, est de 30%, mais c'est-à-dire nous allons donner plus de points et on peut conclure le marché à des sociétés qui proposent, c'est-à-dire le recyclage de plus de ces 30%. Donc, on a laissé même la limite jusqu'à 50%, donc là, dans le concours. Le quatrième sujet, c'est que nous avons une association qu'on a appelée Tawafort. C'est des chiffonniers, c'est-à-dire qui font le tri juste à l'entrée de la décharge. Donc, ils font le recyclage d'un certain nombre de produits qu'ils recyclent. On n'a pas commencé le tri au niveau de nos villes, mais on fait le tri juste à l'entrée de la décharge. Et comme quoi, c'est-à-dire sur cette décharge, il y a une centaine de bonhommes qui travaillent, parmi eux des migrants, bien sûr. Le quatrième et dernier sujet sur lequel nous avons travaillé ensemble, c'est que cette année, nous avons mis, pas cette année 2021, l'année dernière déjà 2020, nous avons mis en service une station de traitement des eaux usées dédiée à l'irrigation de tous les espaces verts. Comme je vous ai dit au départ, la ville de Rabat est une des 5 capitales vertes au monde, et donc le ratio d'espace vert dédié à chaque habitant, il dépasse 24 mètres carrés, jusqu'à même 36 mètres carrés si on comptabilise les forêts qui nous entourent. Mais c'est-à-dire à partir de l'année dernière, de 2020, nous avons commencé à irriguer ces espaces verts par de l'eau, c'est-à-dire réutilisée. Et bien sûr, nous sommes sur un projet de rénovation. Nous avons rénové déjà notre éclairage public, mais on est en train d'assurer le passage, c'est-à-dire au LED, pour assurer une économie. Et donc, on est en train de rabaisser notre contribution, c'est-à-dire à faire baisser nos dégagements de gaz à effet de serre. Donc tout ça, comment on trouve c'est-à-dire les migrants? Premièrement, nous avons profité de notre diaspora, la diaspora marocaine à l'étranger. Il y a des savants, il y a des ingénieurs, il y a un savoir-faire à travers, c'est-à-dire des bureaux d'études qui opèrent au Maroc et qui opèrent surtout en Europe, mais aussi à travers des compagnies qui viennent, des compagnies européennes qui font travailler aussi bien la diaspora marocaine, c'est-à-dire la première ligne où il y a les intellectuels, les ingénieurs, les savants, les chercheurs, et ainsi de suite, mais aussi les ouvriers marocains. Mais dans tout ça, c'est-à-dire le migrant aussi subsaharien, il trouve sa quote-part parce qu'on les trouve dans tous les chantiers au niveau de la ville de Rabat, où il intègre parfaitement nos chantiers de développement, partout les moyens, et on les aide et on les encourage même. Il y a même ceux qui ont créé des petites sociétés au niveau de jardinage, au niveau de gardiennage, on les encourage à opérer dans nos territoires. Voilà un petit peu l'expérience de la ville de Rabat et je suis prêt à répondre s'il y a des questions bien précises dans le domaine. Merci pour votre attention.
Okay, thank you so much to the Mayor Rabat. Now, hopefully, of course, we will all be able to travel one day very soon, and we'll be able to sample some of those eco-trams that you spoke so eloquently about. Let me go now to Kishore Gopal Reddy again. As the co-founder of Youth for Sustainable Impact, now you've worked on a grassroots level along with thousands of young people. Your work provides skill development and capacity building for rural communities, for youth and women to manufacture eco-friendly products. Can you now tell us about this foundation? You know, why did you want to set it up? What are you hoping to achieve? This seems to be really as much your story as it is the people that you're helping out.
Exactly. Thanks for the question. And I would love to give a very short story to explain that. So there's this woman named Kamala in an Indian village who was forced to migrate due to climate change. And she goes to a new place. She can't find any job. She is a school dropout because her parents couldn't pay money for her education. And she literally is unemployed and can't earn a living, but she's very creative. But she doesn't know how to use those creative skills. She's always making some artwork or stuff like that, but she cannot use them. And now there's another woman, say, called Suma, who is also has the same situation. She's also forcibly migrated to a different place, and she can't find a job. But the difference with her is she's able to use her creative skills, and she's making some small items which she sells in her community and earns a good living. Now, the difference between these two people is that both had skill gaps, but one understood how to use the skills to earn a living. Now, finally, the third case is of, say, another woman who underwent a skill development program for a few weeks or a few months, and she makes eco-friendly products. And she was also displaced or migrated forcefully, but she uses her skills to make eco-friendly products, and she earns a better living because the value created with sustainable products is higher, and she gets a higher pay. So the difference here is that skill development can really change the life of the same people we are looking at. So here I would love to highlight how skill development could play a key role in transitioning to a greener economy. So we can invest all the money in innovative technology, in advanced technology, but at the same time, we cannot ignore young people who are unemployed or who are working in traditional sectors. So for people who are working in traditional sectors, once we transition to a greener economy, they will have to transition to the greener economy as well. They will have to get greener jobs. And for this, they need skill development. And at the same time, for young people who want to learn skills and who want to get into greener sectors, they also need to undergo skill development, and they also need to gain those skills to reduce unemployment once we transition to a greener economy. And this is what my organization basically does. We provide skill development to unemployed people, especially young people and unemployed women, to manufacture eco-friendly fashion products. And at the same time, we also raise awareness amongst them to promote sustainable consumption and production. So this ensures that the people who undergo our training are producing sustainably, and they're also consuming sustainably. And at the same time, they become our agents to spread awareness about sustainability and greener economies. So it's an initiative which combines multiple solutions, and it targets multiple sustainable development goals, such as quality education, decent jobs, climate change, and many more. The list goes on. So my conclusion is we need collective action, we need integrated solutions, and we need to work together to solve these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Kishore. That was really nicely said. Now, I want to quickly move back to Ms. Antarengui. What type of initiatives has your organization undertaken, and why have you chosen to work with diaspora? I'll say that to you quickly, and I'll give you the floor because I know that we're running out of time. Please go ahead. You have 4 minutes. If you can make it 2, even better.
Thank you very much. I think I am a diaspora myself because I migrated to the Netherlands about 6 years ago. And obviously, I worked in the financial sector. I'd gone there for studies and then decided to be more impactful, around the communities that I work with or live with. And then I decided to know my business. And having been, of course, being a migrant in a diaspora, I experienced a lot of challenges, both in the country where I wanted to set up a business, like in the Netherlands, but my business actually was destined to help small and medium enterprises in Africa, in terms of building capacity. So obviously, the problems that I encountered were, I lacked an organized skill set, for example. Yeah, not everyone is a business person, even if you have great ideas and some money. So because I could not find incubators that were willing to support me, even to open a business in my country of origin, I found a gap there. And that's how I founded SADIKI. I'd like to say diaspora, obviously, there's a lot of high expectations in the diaspora. In Africa, every country is talking about the diaspora, but obviously there were no organized programs for the diaspora. So as a pilot, I did a couple of interventions, and one of the interventions that we did is that together with IOM Netherlands, we organized a kind of a incubation program where we trained about 40 entrepreneurs from Ghana and Ethiopia, 20 per country. And I must say, it was surprising. We never called green economy, but 70% of those were actually in the green economy sector. And after the program, which involved 2 months of training, 4 months of mentorship, together with other partners, when eventually they went to their country of origin, that is in Ghana and Ethiopia, they were stranded. There were no support structures locally. There were no better programs. They didn't have network. And so my biggest challenge was how to bridge this gap and actually break the disconnect, for the diaspora, because they live abroad, create an environment, an ecosystem where they're able to connect with their local counterparts and partner. They could find each other as co-founders in a business. The diaspora could invest in these businesses. They could find team members. And I think this is a huge benefit to both the host country where they live and the country of origin. So obviously, we've also done a couple of programs. In Ghana, we've partnered with SMB. And what we've done is we're trying to match the diaspora entrepreneurs to the green sector SMEs in Ghana. I must say this is work in progress. We need to build a lot of capacity in terms of this, because also creating partnership is a way new, is already an handle, because we are talking about cross-border, and I think our program is geared towards creating an enabling environment. We are working with a lot of development organizations. Of course, the European Commission is part of the program in Ghana, which is very commendable. But we really need to embrace more programs like this. In Kenya as well, we are doing the matchmaking programs. And I must say, the main thing is we're just trying to bridge the gap. Instead of having foreigners or experts coming to Africa to run programs, we want the diaspora to be at the forefront. Why? They understand the markets, they understand the good things that they're happening wherever they are living, and they can definitely be a good source of a resource in terms of not just labor, in terms of knowledge, in terms of innovation. And before I finish, I have one good example to say. Because also we do matchmaking. There was an innovator who is a diaspora living in the Netherlands from Nigeria. They developed a very green economy innovation, to cater for open air markets, to provide refrigeration, to provide, a good source of energy in the open air markets. And after the diaspora developed this innovation, he didn't know how to navigate even the Nigerian market where he came from. So luckily, we found a Kenyan counterpart who was doing the same kind of product or in the same sector. And now I think they are working together. So you can already see how when we combine resources to different people who are from another market to the African continent, you can already see a lot of progress. So thank you very much. And I think my time is up. Thank you.
Well done. Yes, the time is up. Thank you so much. Well, listen, look. So, Michael, before we actually come to you, what I'm going to do, I know that you're waiting to give a second round of answers as well, but we're running out of time. So I'm going to go to Slido and I'm going to go to the questions that people have been asking. Kishore, I'll come to you with this one first. What are the crucial skills for the green economy, in your opinion? Go ahead, as fast as you can.
One, you also need technical skills, because some green industries such as energy or infrastructure are very skill intensive. So you need technical skills. And secondly, you also need management or business skills in general, skills maybe to set up your own small business or to set up your own social enterprise in a green sector. So these are the two things that I can immediately think about, just to be quick and short.
Okay, brilliant. Anyone else? Mayor Rabat, can I quickly ask you, what do you think? Same as well. Crucial skills for the green economy, as fast as you can. And I think he is muted. Oh no. Okay, so we seem to be having a bit of a mutation of the mute for this panel. Okay, so we'll go to the DG for the ICMPD, Dr. Michael. Someone has asked why partnerships between the EU and Africa are so important. Can you tell us a bit more?
Of course, a partnership is something where you are dealing on the same level. I think many African countries, from our point of view, feel that they are not dealt in this way. So for partnership, there has to be an offer. What is the benefit for the country of origin as well as for the country of destination? And this kind of cooperation, of course, is a process that is not something where you can have a role model, but you have to design a special solution for every country connected with another one. So I think this is the challenge. But of course, to make tailor-made solutions is one of the issues where you can have success.
Okay, brilliant. Frida, Ms. Antwangbi, which African country could emerge at the forefront of this green revolution, in your opinion?
Say Ghana. Ghana has made a lot of strides. Can you hear me? No?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
of
you
course.
can.
Carry on.
Yeah, so no, I was saying Ghana has made a lot of strides in this regard. I think they're also one of the countries in the forefront that has been able to come up with, for example, startup act, in their policy making and regulation and registration. So I think all these things make a lot of sense when a country is trying to move forward. Then there are so many macroeconomic aspects that are interconnected. So I think Ghana has really done well in this regard, and I like also what SNV is doing in Ghana, bringing out this.
Don't worry, carry on. All the bongs and gongs, it doesn't matter. It's probably the EDD telling us to wrap up. But carry on.
Okay, but I think I'm done anyway. I was just trying to front for Ghana and see a lot is happening. And I think also I think the EU, I like what Michael said, for partnerships to work in this regard, the two parties have to see benefits and there have to be win-win situation. And I must say, this is what a lot of African countries are struggling with.
Okay.
They really appear in being consumed in international inequalities. That's obviously some programs create. So I think if you can be able to remove these barriers and show benefits in both sides, this could go a long way. Thank you.
Miriam.
Okay, I see, Tasmin, that you are there.
Yes.
Can you give me just a few seconds to wrap up, or are you going to take it away from me?
Few seconds, go for it.
Okay, brilliant. Well, okay, so Tasmin is there. We're going to have to wrap up. I want to obviously thank everyone who has joined us. Thank you for joining us online. We really appreciated all of you for being here with us. We're sorry for the technical difficulties, but of course, this is what happens when we are working remotely and we are live. We really hope that you have, of course, enjoyed our discussion. And thank you also to the ICMPD for putting this high level on. Tasmin, over to you.